Hello and what's up, RBY Pokemon Challenges fam? How you guys doing? It has been a very long minute since I've been on here. It's good to be back. It's good to see ya. I'm gonna have a live channel update at the end of this video, but for now, let's get into the challenge today. We're going to try to beat the entire game of Pokemon Yellow with a Mew. Now, Mew is kind of interesting in the fact that, in spite of the fact that it's the second highest base stat total Pokemon in the game, and arguably the second best Pokemon in the game, it can't beat Brock on minimum battles. In fact, it's one of several incredibly strong Pokemon that just don't get through the first gym on minimum battles because there are no good early game movesets. In spite of the fact that Mew should be able to learn basically everything, it starts the game with only Pound, and the only level up move that it could possibly get in this section of the game would be Transform, which at level 8, it's not even going to get there, and I think it levels straight up to level 11 after beating Brock, so it never even learns Transform on minimum battles, so there's just no logical way to get through that fight. Pound's going to do like, what, 1 or 2 damage per hit? There's just no way. But I do think that we can still get a pretty good finish with this Pokemon. It's just going to require a little extra grinding in the Brock section, and after that, I'm pretty sure it's going to be smooth sailing. I have never done a just standard Mew challenge on the channel. I've always done Mew with like special moves or something, so this is something that I really wanted to get out of the way. Of course, our massive TM learn set is going to be a massive advantage as we go through this one. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this one and see how it goes. And as usual, Professor Oak is going to find a random legendary Pokemon outside of Pallet Town, and he's just going to catch it with a single Pokeball. Now he's just going to give it to some random kid because his grandson's a jerk. Man, Gary Oak, if you had just waited a little longer, you could have gotten a Mew. Instead, you're going to get this Eevee. And now it takes only a few seconds for Gary Oak to realize his mistake as we get into the Rival 1 fight. We're simply going to hold down Auto A on Pound. This is looking like maybe a 5-hit KO range, and he misses a tackle even. We get through with no damage. Easy victory. Now, as usual, we are running a 0 DVs Mew. We want to have the weakest possible Mew as we go through this challenge so that we know what it takes to beat the game, even in the worst case with this Pokemon, which the higher your base stat total is, the less DVs really matter, because DVs always just add a fixed amount of stats to everything. So if you have max DVs, you're going to be 15 points higher at level 50 in every single stat. That's the same for HP, attack, defense, everything. So when your base stats are already 100 and everything, that's not actually a massive percentage increase by any means. It can affect some slight ranges, but really the DVs are far more important when you're dealing with weak Pokemon. When you're dealing with something like a Zubat, the difference between max DVs and 0 DVs would be absolutely massive. But in the case of Mew, it's kind of just a little bit of, but in the case of Mew, it's really just kind of a rounding error. So with that being said, we are not going to be able to beat Brock on minimum battles. I will go up there on minimum battles and just test it one time to see how it goes, but I can pretty much guarantee that it's not going to work, and we're going to have to come back here and grind some extra opponents. So after beating the Bugcatcher in Viridian Forest, we get to level 8, which is standard for all medium slow level up Pokemon, and now we'll go ahead and just try Brock one time. I already know that we're not going to be able to beat him, but we may as well just verify. Maybe I made a strategy mistake when I was testing. We'll just see. So here we go. Brock attempt number 1. In our first attempt against Brock, there's nothing to do but just hold Auto A on Pound, and we can see that literally did 1 damage, and we took 5 damage in return from the Geodude. Geodude in Pokemon Yellow only knows Tackle, so outside of him missing an infinite number of times, which is a 5% chance per turn, there's just no way that we would ever get through this fight. So we'll just take our first reset, and now it's time to just go grind some extra battles. I think we have to at least get to no Transform before we have any shot, but even then it's probably not enough. We're gonna need probably at least a couple more battles to make this work. So the first battle that I always take in these cases is this second Bugcatcher in Viridian Forest. He has 2 Metapods and a Caterpie, so he's always basically a guaranteed win, unless you've got a Pokemon that can't struggle all 3 Pokemon down. We saw that with Alakazam, if I recall correctly. But outside of that, this fight's always basically guaranteed, and it gets most Pokemon at least 2 levels. So just like that, we have learned Transform. I'm going to go ahead and try Brock again at this point, just because maybe with Transform strats we can somehow make it work, but let's find out. It is also worth noting that level 10 is a damage rounding threshold, so in theory we could do more damage, but I'm not sure it's actually going to work out. So here, Brock attempt number 2, we can see that we're doing 2 damage per hit now with Pound. We're taking 4 damage in return, so I still don't think we could get through this. Now, of course, if we transform into the Geodude, we would have more HP, but we would also have to struggle against it. And yeah, we've only got 5 PP in Tackle. So I just don't see any way that we're actually going to get through here. Like, yes, we're going to knock out the Geodude from the looks of it, but we won't have any HP left for the Onix, which means that this is still an impossible fight. So since that doesn't work, the next damage rounding threshold is actually at level 13, and we should be able to get there before we take on Brock again. So I'm going to start off by fighting Rival 1A. We almost never fight this dude, but by beating him, we will get the Jolteon team, which is also theoretically harder for us because Jolteon will know Pin Missile in the late game. Let's just see how it works. So here, Rival 1A, I'm just going to hold down Auto A on Pound against the Spearow. It's 3-hit KO. Out comes the Eevee. We are at a higher level than Eevee, and this is looking to be a 4-hit KO. Easy victory, and we get to level 11. So I'm going to fight a couple more bug catchers, get to at least level 13, and then we'll go try Brock again. So after 2 more battles, we are at level 13 now, so let's go try Brock with the next damage rounding threshold, and let's see if Transform strats can somehow make this work. So Brock, round 3, let's just see what Pound does. It does 3 damage per hit now, and we're taking 3 damage per hit back, so we will absolutely be able to knock out the Geodude. We also have a higher critical hit chance than Geodude, so this should work out pretty darn well. Let's see if we can get to Onix with at least enough health. I'm going to stick with Pound for now. Once he uses Bide, that's when I'll transform. Now I'm going to actually use Screech 3 times in order to lower his defense, with the idea being that once we get his defense all the way down, we should, at least in theory, be able to do better damage here. And I'm going to spam Bind while he's using Bide. This is actually a pretty effective strategy since it will only count 1 of the hits from Bind. I'll actually use Tackle while he's not using Bide, but once he goes into Bide, I'll use Bind on him. And we're getting him pretty low. I'm going to use Bide myself now, hoping that he'll attack me with something. He uses Bind on me. Rip. So we're going to do like next to no damage back. But we are doing 3 damage per hit with Tackle, so we knock him out. And just like that, it's taken 9 minutes and 27 seconds. Took a bunch of optional battles, but we did manage to beat Brock with our Mew. So 2 resets, both just trying to test out strategies against Brock, and 3 optional battles, but Mew gets through no problem. So with that being done, it's time to just make our way through Mount Moon, and we shouldn't have too much trouble in this next section. So let's make our way straight to the Super Nerd at the end of the mountain. So here, just in front of the Super Nerd, I have actually skipped getting both the Water Gun and Mega Punch TMs. I don't think I need either of them. I'm going to hold out for Bubble Beam in order to have a water type move. And here, Pound is more than enough to take out this Super Nerd, I think. Here we even get a 2-hit. Oh, it's a 3-hit KO. Just barely missed the 2-hit range on that Voltorb. And here we shouldn't really have any issues with the coughing as long as we don't get poisoned. Very nice. And we're all the way up to level 18 already, so we're going to out-level everything on Jesse and James's team. That being said, they can still be a little tough, so let's see how it goes. So here against the Ekans, I'm just going to use Pound. It's a 2-hit KO. Out comes Meowth. Meowth can be tough with Bite, but here, since we're 4 levels higher, it easily goes down. And Coughing is just kind of defensively bulky, but we do manage to knock it out in 4 hits. So with that, we've made it through Mount Moon on minimum battles. We can now make our way to Mount Moon on minimum battles, and we're to Cerulean City, where I think the best strategy is actually to fight Rival 2 first. I think we want to do this just to get a couple extra levels. If we can get to Mega Punch before we fight against Misty, we should have better ranges when we actually get into that fight. So here's Rival 2 attempt number 1. So here I'm going to just lead off with Pound against against the Spearow, it's a 2-hit KO with a critical hit. Sandshrew is the one that's kind of scary because it's so bulky. It looks to be a 4-hit KO, but we don't get any sand attacks. That was perfect. Now the Rattata is just a 2-hitter, and Eevee is gonna sand attack us, but hopefully we can hit. We have a 4-hit KO range, and we get it on the first try and level up to level 20. So very nice. We are now able to use Mega Punch in battle. That's why I avoided the Mega Punch TM. We're just gonna learn it anyway. So what's the point? I'm gonna go over the Nugget Bridge and just get a couple extra levels, and then we'll go try Misty. So I had a couple of accidental resets there. I'm using a new controller, so I'm up to 5 resets, but only 2 of them are actually legit. But I'm gonna just take on everything here on the way to Bill's house and then go back and take on Misty. The hardest trainer is definitely this Onyx trainer right here. Fortunately, Mega Punch is doing very decent damage, so as long as we don't get bind too much, we should be able to get through this. And sure enough, we get it on the first attempt. So finally, we can take on the Oddish Lass just before Bill's house. This one really shouldn't be too hard. I'm gonna save the Mega Punch here for the Pidgey. I want to just one-shot it so I don't get any accuracy drops. And there we go. We get easy 1-hit KOs on those Pokemon. Now that we've gotten to Billy Boy's house, we're up to level 23, and I think at this level we should have no problems taking on Misty, but let's find out if that's the case. But just before I do that, I'm going to take on this innocent bystander and get access to the Dig TM. Now, Dig is probably not completely necessary, but it is a very strong move for this point in the game, and I think it's the first TM I'm actually going to learn on my Mew. So here against the Goldeen trainer, we can even test it out. Dig is a 100 base power move, and with a critical hit, it just one-shots against that Goldeen. So now it's time to take on Misty and see how this goes with Mega Punch and Dig. Misty attempt number 1, I'm simply going to use Mega Punch on the first Staryu. It doesn't quite one-shot. That's where the Dig with 100 base power really would help, but I'm going to use Mega Punch until she starts using her X defense. Here it's a 3-hit KO on Starmie just with the Mega Punch. Easy victory. Took 23 minutes, but that's largely because I got all the way to Misty once and then accidentally reset on my controller, so the time got a little screwed. But here, 5 resets, 3 optional battles, 1 TM. We're still sitting at 97.75. We're really not doing too bad. Yes, we're going to learn more TMs with our Mew as we go through the run, but that shouldn't be too big of a deal. We should still definitely be an S tier finish with this Pokemon, but let's find out if I make any more mistakes like resetting unnecessarily. For now, we're just going to make our way down to the SSN. There are no required battles in the SSN other than rival number 3, so we're just going to get straight to that fight and see how it goes. Now, keep in mind that yes, Body Slam and Rest are on the SSN, but on a minimum battles run, you cannot get those moves. They're both locked behind optional trainers, so you just have to skip them in spite of the fact that they're 2 of the better moves in the game. So here it's just time for rival number 3. He's going to lead off, of course, with his Spearow. I'm just going to Mega Punch it. That is a 1-hit KO. Rattata, once we land the Mega Punch, is more of the same. We get to level 26 here. I'm going to use Dig against the Sandshrew. It's not quite a 1-hit, but we get a 2-hit KO there. And I'm going to keep with Dig against Eevee since it is the strongest move, and now Pound just to finish it off. So easy victory right there. No problems whatsoever. And now that we've gotten through the SSN, I'm going to go straight to Lieutenant Surge. Obviously, Dig is going to make very quick work of the Raichu. Let's see if we can one-shot it or not. So after the trash can puzzle, Lieutenant Surge, he's just waiting to get beat. I'm so confident here that I didn't even heal coming into this fight. I'm just going to use Dig. He Mega Kicks me, but Dig is a 1-hit KO. Easy victory. I think that one's perfectly consistent. 26 minutes up to this point. Really not too bad. Didn't need any more optional battles. No more TMs. We're cruising. Let's go ahead and make our way to Celadon City. Now, we do have a couple of really good TMs here with Thunderbolt and Bubble Beam in the bag. I'm going to hold off on both of those moves for now, though. We got to keep in mind that in the case of Thunderbolt, it's not really useful against anything other than the rival's Cloyster, basically until we get to the Elite Four. Once we get to the Elite Four, 4, I'm going to be really wanting to use that move against Lorelei and Lance. So I'm just going to save that TM for now. I'm not going to learn it too quickly because we might want to learn other moves in the meantime. So now we can make it to the Rock Tunnel Hiker, where dig should be more than enough here. Even with a defense curl, we just one-shot there, level up to level 29. We can knock out the next Geodude, and he just defense curls with all of his Pokemon. Easy game. Even if he's self-destructed, as long as he does it while we're underground, who cares? And with that, we've got one trainer to fight, and we can make our way to Lavender Town. And with no further troubles, we're in Celadon City, where we've actually leveled up enough to learn Metronome on our Mew. And I'm going to get a bunch of useful TMs here. Let's just see what we end up using. I think Ice Beam is going to be necessary. Ice Beam is just so incredibly powerful at this point in the game. I think we can pretty much hold off on everything else though. And while I could get Psychic in this section of the game, I'm just going to hold off because we're going to learn Psychic anyway at level 40. I don't think we're actually going to miss it that much in the meantime. Dig and Ice Beam are more than strong enough to get through basically everything. So instead, I'm just going to go straight to Erica, where this shouldn't be too much of a challenge. Against Erica, the strategy is pretty simple. I think I'm just going to spam Ice Beam. It's going to be a 2-hitter here on the Tangela, but Mega Drain doesn't do that much. Here against the Weepinbell, it's another 2-hit KO. It hits us with Acid, but that doesn't really matter. We get to level 31 and then just one-shot the Gloom. Easy victory. 35 minutes into this one, still only 3 optional battles. We've learned 2 TMs, but really the main point is I think that Mew only needs a couple of optional battles to beat Brock, and then you're pretty much smooth sailing from there. We could probably be at least 10 minutes faster than this if I just hadn't reset by mistake midway through. So really, this isn't an optimized speed run by any means, but I'm sure that if you did a speed run of this, you could get this to be pretty darn fast, as long as you just knew which battles to take at the beginning. We may come back and mess with that later. For now, let's just make our way into the Rocket Hideout, where all of our moves should be more than strong enough to easily knock out all of these Pokemon. If I don't dig against a Zubat, Mega Punch obviously just one-shots. So here against Jesse and James, it's really just a matter of spamming dig and Mega Punch to just one-shot all of these Pokemon. And with that, we can make our way to Giovanni. So first things first, against the Onix, I'm just going to use Ice Beam. It's a guaranteed one-hit KO. Same for the Rhyhorn. Easy victory. And now against the Persian, this is where I'm going to go for dig strategies, since dig is the stronger move, and we easily get 2 hits to knock it out. So just like that, the Rocket Hideout is done. We can get out of here and make our way back to Lavender, where after a quick heal, we'll just take on rival number 4. So here against the rival, I'm just going to Ice Beam the Fearow. That's a one-hitter. Shelter comes out. I'm going to just stick with Mega Punch here. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. Out comes Vulpix. We can just dig and get a guaranteed one-hitter. The Sandshrew comes out. I'm going to go for the Ice Beam to knock it out very quickly. And against Eevee, let's just use dig, I guess. It's an easy one-hit KO. And just like that, we're up to level 34 with our Mew. We're basically just crushing everything at this point. I think we might have some challenges as we get really late in the game, but for now, this is just a cakewalk. I will be avoiding optional battles as much as possible though, so we're really just going to be relying on our moveset to hopefully get us through every challenge. Unfortunately, nothing else here in the tower is going to give us any trouble. We take out the Marowak very easily. Obviously, Jesse and James are just a joke at this point, so we should have an easy victory. Next, we have to decide how to progress though. I think I'm going to try rival number 5 first before going to Koga, since we don't have a super effective move against Koga at this point. We're only at level 35. We need 5 more levels in order to get to Psychic. So I'm going to see if I can just beat the Silphco section first, and then maybe we can manage to get enough levels to just go to take on Koga with Psychic, at which point that one should also be incredibly easy. Now, there are only 4 required battles here in Silphco. We have to fight 1 random rocket, we have to fight rival number 5, and then Jesse and James and Giovanni. So I'm not sure it's enough to actually get us the levels that we'll need to get to Psychic at this point. It's also possible that Cloyster poses a big trouble for us, at which point we might think about learning Thunderbolt at this point in the game as well. So here, rival 5 attempt number 1. Let's see how it goes. Against the Sandslash, obviously just go for Ice Beam. It's a 2-hit KO at this point. We level up to level 36. Now against Ninetales, I'm just going to use dig. We don't quite get the one-hitter, so I'm just going to use a Mega Punch to finish it off. Cloyster is kind of the issue, and it even lowers our attack with an Aurora Beam, and Clamp is doing massive damage. and that didn't work. I used a couple of metronomes just to see if we could get a good move. It just did not work out. So let's try again here. Oh, we metronomed Thunderbolt on the Sand Slash. That's not what we wanted, but there we go. We knock it out easily. Ninetales once again. Let's use Dig. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. We get a Tail Whip, which does raise our stats a little bit. Mega Punch with a critical hit did that much though. So Headbutt, Aurora Beam. We're just not getting the moves that we need. I think this is going to be far more consistent if we do learn a move like Thunderbolt here. So I'm just going to go ahead and learn it at this point. If we ever do need to forget it, I guess there is a Thunder TM later on. But Thunderbolt is a useful enough move that I think it makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and learn this over Metronome. Metronome's just kind of a gimmick. I don't think we really want to have that move. So now on Cloyster again with Thunderbolt, it is a 2-hit KO. It uses Withdraw, which means nothing. Kadabra comes out and tries Disable, but a single Dig knocks it out. Now Jolteon is always going to go for Pin Missile against us, but we use Dig. It's not quite a one-hitter, but he uses a Potion. Good job, rival number 5. So there we go. We do get through. It took quite a few resets there. We're up to 9 resets, but we have managed to get through that fight. I don't think Jesse and James are going to pose any major issues for us, so I'm just going to heal up a little bit. Let's get into that fight. We are up to level 37, so we're just a couple of levels away from getting Psychic 2. And with Jesse and James easily defeated, it's time to take on Giovanni. So here the big issue is that we're actually low on PP and Dig, but I think it's fine. One Dig will knock out the Nidorino. Here against the Persian, we can go for the Ice Beams. I'm just going for Ice Beam since it has the chance to freeze. Ice Beam is perfectly fine on Rhyhorn, and technically Nidoqueen has lower special than defense, so I think Ice Beam is the way to go here. It's going to be a 2-hit KO, easy victory as we get to level 39. So still just one level off of Psychic. There are 2 jugglers to fight in Koga's gym, so I think we're going to get there naturally. I don't think we need to use any of our rare candies at this point. Now I will pick up the Swords Dance TM here, since technically that could be a really good move, especially late in the game if we need a stronger Earthquake or something like that. And of course we'll grab the Earthquake TM in the rare candy. And now it's just time to get out of here and make our way down south. And here after we get through the second juggler, we do in fact learn the move Psychic. I'm just going to learn it over Mega Punch at this point, and let's see if it works out. So Psychic is a move that we'll want to keep for the late game. It will be pretty good in a lot of spots, but for now, let's go ahead and take on Koga. This is one of the spots where Psychic is absolutely the best move. We can use Psychic to one-shot the first Venonat. Psychic will one-shot the second Venonat. Psychic will one-shot the third Venonat. Now this Venomoth will only use Leech Life against us because we are Psychic type. Leech Life isn't going to do that much. Psychic with a critical hit one-shots and we win, getting to level 41. So here, 9 resets so far. The vast majority of those came on rival number 5. Obviously Thunderbolt helped there. We're up to 4 TMs at this point in the run, but still not doing too bad. And with that, we've gotten through Koga in 49 minutes. Obviously you could get this way faster. I've just been kind of dilly-dallying here. This is what happens when you don't play Pokemon very much for a couple months. Oh, my speed is just down so bad. Don't worry, we'll come back. We'll get this properly at some point. So now we have to decide whether to go take on Sabrina or take on Blaine. I'm actually going to go take on Blaine first. The reason is pretty simple. I have Dig on the learn set, so we're already going to have a super effective move. I think it will be enough to get through that pretty easily. So we can wander through the Pokemon Mansion where they talk all about Mew, and yet somehow we completely just escape all of their attention with our completely legendary Pokemon. Nobody seems to really understand just how great this Pokemon is. I mean, we've beaten the game on minimum battles in a few different ways with this Pokemon using only one-hit KO moves. We had the run where we did the HM moves only, one of the more epic runs with the HM Mule, but this one I just wanted to try Mew as it's actually intended to be played, and honestly it's pretty impressive. It's a pretty good Pokemon overall. Obviously the stats would dictate that, but really it's usually just held back by the early game. If you ever wanted to do something on minimum battles, it just doesn't really work because of the fact that you have to grind at least a few battles at the start of the game to make it. That being said, you could easily just do some sort of trade back where you just taught it a single TM move like Water Gun in another version of the game, and this Pokemon would just crush. Granted, you could also teach it TM28 Tombstoner, and then it would crush everything, but let's go ahead and try Blaine. attempt number 1, I'm just going to go with Dig right here, and Dig one-shots with a critical hit there against the Ninetales. We get Fire Spin from the Rapidash. We are slower, keeping in mind we're 9 levels lower here, and we get a Growl. That's really not ideal. So I'm not sure we're going to win this fight. It misses a Fire Spin there though, so we do knock it out. Out comes the Arcanine, which goes for Reflect. That's kind of the worst case scenario here. He goes Reflect again. I think we just need a critical hit. He reflects again, and now Flamethrower finally knocks us out. So that was pretty bad, but that makes me think that the strategy here might be to go for some sort of Swords Dance. Like logically, Dig and Ice Beam and Thunderbolt are really useful. Psychic doesn't have that much utility. When we think about the Pokemon that we'd actually want to use Psychic on from here on out, they're basically Agatha's Gengars, which Dig or Earthquake are perfectly fine against, and basically Bruno, but I mean Bruno is Bruno. So I think Psychic can actually be off the moveset and replaced with Swords Dance, which should make our moves quite a bit stronger. It will give us the badge boost glitch, and technically we could always just relearn Psychic via TM. So here in attempt number 2 against Blaine, I meant to go Swords Dance. Here we go. Now with the Swords Dance's set up, we're even gonna outspeed everything, and now we can use Dig and knock out the Ninetales. We're faster than Rapidash, and we get the one-hit KO. Now against Arcanine, Dig one-shots. So clearly that was an effective strategy. So 10 resets so far, 5 TMs. We should have 3 optional battles. Something has gone wrong with the overlay. I'll get that fixed. But there we go. We have gotten through Blaine just fine. In this Swords Dance Dig strategy, and may become Swords Dance Earthquake later on. I don't know. Earthquake and Dig are kind of redundant overall. But basically this strategy should allow us to get through pretty much everything. So now let's just try our hand against Sabrina. Obviously Sabrina is going to use Flash on us, and everybody likes getting flashed by Sabrina, but we're hoping not to get too many flashes here as we go ahead and try to take her down. Attempt number 1 against Sabrina here, I'm going to go for a single Swords Dance at the beginning. She goes for an X Defend, that's actually perfect. And now Dig one-shots the Abra. I'm going to go for a second Swords Dance and even a third Swords Dance here against Kadabra. We managed to dodge the Kinesis. Now that's a one-hit KO, and here the Alakazam, also a one-hit KO. Alakazam could use Reflect, which is why I wanted to set them all up, but that was an easy victory. So with 7 gyms out of the way, it's time now just to go take on Giovanni, and let's see how this goes. Now fortunately, the fact that we have Dig is really good here, because Dig is going to be super effective against his 3 best Pokemon, the 2 Nidos and of course the Rhydon. And with Swords Dance, I think it's going to be enough to just one-shot or at least 2-shot those Pokemon. And if all else fails, we still have Ice Beam to use on them as well. Here, attempt number 1 against Giovanni. I'm going to lead off by setting up Swords Dance here against the Dugtrio. We get a Sand Attack, which is pretty bad, but now that we're faster, Fissure can't affect us. I'm going to Dig since he digs, and that's an easy one-hit KO. We level up right there. We get a Screech from the Persian, and it's not a one-hitter with our Dig, but we do get the 2-hit KO. We miss our first Dig against Nidoqueen and took massive damage thanks to that Screech, but we one-shot it the next turn. Here against Nidoking, Earthquake knocks us out. So it was all about that accuracy drop, basically. Let's try this again. We once again get a Sand Attack from this first Dugtrio, and then get hit by Dig, which is a critical hit. So probably not winning this one. We were just a little bit too weak there. So this time we get Dig turn 1 from the Dugtrio. I'm just going to use 1 Swords Dance and then knock it out. I'm going to try to finish my Swords Dance setup here against the Persian, but it gets a 5-hit critical hit with Fury Swipes. Are you kidding me? And this time we get fissured by the Dugtrio. This is terrible. So next attempt, we do manage to get all of our setup off, and in spite of the double teams, we knock out the Persian. Here, Dig is enough to knock out the Nidoqueen. Dig will knock out the Nidoking, We level up here, but we still outspeed against the Rhydon and one-shot it with a dig. So it was really just a matter of accuracy. Once we got through with no accuracy drops and no like crazy 5-hit critical hits from that Persian, really wasn't that bad. So 14 resets now, 5 TMs. Again, there should be 3 optional battles there, but really not too bad. It's taken an hour and 2 minutes to get to this point in the game, and we're on to the Elite Four. And we're very likely at the point in the game where we should start thinking about using our rare candies. I've just saved them all up to this point because I try to save them at least for the league in most cases, unless there's a really clear reason to use them. But just before the league, of course, we have to take on rival number 5. But before the league, of course, we have to take on rival number 6. So let's see if we can make quick work of him. So here, rival number 6, I'm going to lead off with the Swords Dances here against this Sand Slash. Uses Poison Sting and Swift. Now we get a Slash, but now Ice Beam should just one-shot there. Execute, we're going to do the same thing. Next out comes the Ninetales. It's faster with a quick attack, but we one-shot it there. Cloyster, we can just go Thunderbolt, and it's going to be a 2-hit KO actually. But now against Kadabra, I'll just use Dig and get the 1-hit KO. Jolteon's just going to use Pin Missile and miss, and the 1-hitter to knock it out with Dig. So yeah, rival 6, basically not a challenge. The real thing that I'm worried about is the next fight is against Lorelei, where in her case, the fact that she has all these bulky water types probably means that Dig's not going to be that great even with the Swords Dances, and Thunderbolt's not going to do that much damage when we're 10 levels lower. So I think this might be the spot to start thinking about rare candies. That was the strategy when I did the Mewtwo run back in the day, so it just kind of makes sense that that would be the best strategy here with a Mew as well. Now fortunately there are no required trainers in Victory Road, so our next battle is against Lorelei. We've only got 5 battles left in this run. And of course, no sooner do I say that than I accidentally run into a trainer and have to reset. So we're back to fight against rival number 6. This shouldn't be too hard. We should be able to make our way right back to Victory Road very quickly. And sure enough, even with poison on, we were able to win the next attempt. So a lot of people ask, why do you save so much? I know obviously for a speed run, you don't want to be saving every single time, but I save a lot just because of routing. When you're doing minimum battles runs, a simple routing mistake can completely destroy your run. And on this attempt, we do manage to get through that whole section without any issues. So I'm just going to come up here to Victory Road very quickly. I'm actually going to go to the power plant first just to get one more rare candy. I'm not sure if I'll need it at all, but since this is a first attempt, I'm simply going to get it just in case. And with all of that out of the way, I'm going to also just pick up the Psychic TM just in case we need it. I don't think we will, but it's always good to have. And now with all of that done, it's time to just get into the Lorelei fight. I'm going to try once without rare candies. Let's see how it goes. So attempt 1 against Lorelei. First off, I'm just going to use Thunderbolt here, and let's just see the range. It does less than half against this Dugong. Now Dugong will use Rest a lot on turn 2, so I'm going to start setting up Swords Dance here. And now let's see what Dig does. Dig one-shots, very nice. Cloyster has really high defense, so I'm going to use Thunderbolt there. Same for Slowbro, it's pretty bulky. We've got Badge Boost in our special as well, so this should be fine. Now against Jinx, I'm going to go Dig, and that should one-shot. I'm going to use Dig on Lapras too. Let's just see, it doesn't quite get the 1-hitter, but it does get the 2-hitter, and just like that, we beat Lorelei on the first attempt. So with Lorelei going down, it's time to take on Bruno. I think a very similar strategy will work here. Let's see how it goes. Attempt number 1, I'm just going to set up the Swords Dances here. We don't really care what this Onyx does because it's so incredibly weak. It uses Dig, very nice. We'll just dig back and one-shot it. Against Hitmonchan, technically it can use the move Double Team. I'm just going to finish it off with Ice Beam here. Hitmonlee too. Since their special is so bad, I guess Thunderbolt is perfectly fine. That's a nice 2-hitter. Out comes Onyx. Let's just dig on it. Easy victory there. And Machamp, I'm going to go for Dig, get the one-shot. Very, very easy win. So now I think this is a spot to just go ahead and use an Ether on Dig, and I'm going to use a full restore. And now let's try our hand against Agatha. So Here against Agatha, first attempt. Once again, we're going for the sword stances here. We don't care about Mega Drain or anything like that. And once we get all the sword stances set up, I can guarantee that a dig will one-shot this Pokemon as long as she doesn't use a substitute. She does substitute, and we're hitting ourselves in confusion, which is pretty terrible when you've used Swords Dance. But here we're able to knock this one out on the next turn, get to level 50. Here against the Golbat, I'm going to go for Ice Beam. Turns out to be a 2-hit KO, but still not too bad. Dig against Haunter should just one-shot. Same against the Arbok. We're just going to dig, easily knock it out. So now it's just about this Gengar. It confuses us, and we hit ourselves in confusion. Really, if not for confusion, we would have won that fight. So let's try attempt number 2 here. Same strategy. We don't mind Lick. We don't mind really anything other than getting confused. And of course, we get confused by the Golbat as she swaps out. But now we've snapped out of confusion. We can use Ice Beam to knock that one out. We level up here, so we're going to be outsped by the Gengar, but we can use Dig and one-shot it. Out comes the Haunter. Another Dig plus 1-hit KO. Very nice. Here is the Arbok, but she switches to Gengar, so we knock it out and we outspeed Arbok. So there we go. Second attempt, we easily beat Agatha. We could have beaten her the first time. It's just a matter of luck. There's always going to be a little bit of luck in Pokemon. When you're on 0 DVs and running pretty close to minimum battles, this is pretty darn good at the end of the day. So now it's time for Lance. I'm going to go ahead and just heal up my PP. We have an elixir in the bag. We're going to use a lot of Ice Beam and Thunderbolt here. Let's see how it goes. So attempt number 1 against Lance. I'm just going to go Thunderbolt on the Gyarados. It's not a one-hitter though, and he gets in the Hyper Beam range. Hydro Pump does really good damage. I'm going to use Swords Dance here and used Hyper Beam, so that's perfectly fine. I'm using Swords Dance to get badge boosts in my special. Here we can one-shot the 2 Dragonairs. This is no problem whatsoever. Actually, we just missed the range there, and we are outsped by Aerodactyl and one-shot. So I think this is actually a spot to use some rare candies. I'm going to just get into the bag and go ahead and get myself up to level 55 here. At this level, I think with just a couple badge boosts, we'll be faster than the Aerodactyl. And let's see, we might be able to knock out this Gyarados. So here, Thunderbolt is not quite a one-shot. It's very close. It's probably a range, but we don't get it. We do get a Leer here, though. So I'm just going to try to knock it out. We got a Gen 1 miss with Ice Beam. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. So now Ice Beam should definitely knock out these 2 Dragonairs. I'm going to use 1 Swords Dance in order to outspeed the Aerodactyl that's out next. Here, Ice Beam knocks that one out. Ice Beam on Aerodactyl is a 1-hit KO, and Ice Beam on Dragonite, 1-shot. Easy victory as we get to level 56. So we have made it all the way to the champion with 22 resets and 5 TMs. There are also 3 optional battles, so you should knock another 0.75 off our score. So we're actually sitting at a score of 92.05 at this point, but still not too bad. We're S tier. This is a first attempt. Like, nothing has been optimized, but we're doing fine. We still have 7 rare candies in the bag. I'm going to try to go into the champion fight without using the rare candies. We could technically get to level 63 here, but let's just see if this works. Here for the champion, attempt number 1. I'm going to lead off with the Swords Dances against Sandslash. It goes for Earthquake there. We are getting badge boosts in defense. It misses Fury Swipes. Now Dig just one-shots. We outspeed Alakazam. Dig will one-shot there. I'm going to go for the Ice Beam on Exeggutor. This is looking like a 2-hitter as it uses Barrage. Not too bad. Easily get through that one. Now Cloyster, we're going to Thunderbolt. We get the 1-hit KO. We've leveled up. Now I'm going to go Dig on Ninetales. It's a 1-hit KO as well. We get Pin Missile from the Jolteon, but Dig ends it. Level 57 was all it took. Still had 7 rare candies in the bag. Really no problem to beat the entire game with a Mew. Obviously, Mew just comes down to, number 1, getting through Brock. 3 optional battles will let you do it. I fought Rival 1A, I fought the second Bug Catcher in Viridian Forest, and I fought the Light Years Junior Trainer. Very, very easy to get that to go. After that, I'm not using an optimal TM strategy because I'm trying to keep my score as high as possible on my scoring system. But if you simply used all the best TMs at every given time, you would completely crush the game. You would get rid of a ton of those resets. And keep in mind, I'm running on 0 DVs. This is the worst possible Mew. So if you were using vitamins like most people would do, if you were using better TM moves like most people would do, this Pokemon would completely crush the game, as we would expect. But it's nice to see that even on my stupid settings, Mew still, with completely unoptimized strategies and several spots where I lost time just due to me resetting randomly at bad spots, we still beat the game in an hour 19 minutes, hour 20 minutes, and it wasn't really that bad. So yeah, Mew, there it is. Oh, I did something weird to my backgrounds. Oh, they're like rounded off. They've become eggs. Oh man. So yeah, not the fastest run, but we do manage to get through. Very nice. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the post game. I'm going to give a little bit of a life and channel update while I do this as we make our way to the final challenge, which is of course to defeat Mewtwo. So just to catch up with you guys, for people who have followed the channel, you probably already know I recently became a dad, and that has been awesome and very exciting, but at the same time, I'm completely exhausted 90% of the time. You can probably hear it in my commentary that I'm not quite as put together and quite as there as I usually would be. Oh man, you know, the multiple wake ups every night, the, you know, once it hits like 6 o'clock in the morning and he does his, you know, cry at 6, I'm just up. I don't go back to sleep anymore. But you know, like it's very exciting, but it's also a lot of stress and a lot of work. But you know, he's cool. He's awesome. he's amazing. But yeah, what it is affecting, of course, is my ability to make videos. So just on the channel side, like I initially had intended to have other people edit videos for me. I've had 3 kind of attempts at that, and you could say that 2 were outright strikes and 1 was kind of okay. Basically, I had talked to one guy all the way back in April. He had agreed to take it on, delivered footage to him, and then never got anything back and got no communication after that. That was when I was doing the Gengar Clefable run, and I just said, all right, fine, I'll just edit it myself. Had another guy that I was talking to, and it just never went anywhere. And then finally, I had a 3rd guy that I talked to. You guys actually saw the video that he produced for me, which was the Arcanine video, how to actually beat the game on minimum battles using Fire Spin. The problem with that was he did a decent job, I thought. The video was great. It was just delayed by about a month. So basically, I'm still looking for anybody who might be interested or willing to help me out with editing. I would be looking for somebody who might be, you know, able to produce just in a little bit faster time frames so that I can actually keep content coming out. That being said, in the meantime, I'm going to try to keep editing videos like this. It's not going to be the most amazing edit, but I'm going to just try to do as much as I can on my own, considering that I have like no time, you know, compared to before. Like I used to sit and just record and edit literally every day. And that was like my entire day. Once I got home, you know, say hi to the wife, eat dinner, and then get in here and just start recording and editing videos. With a baby, that just isn't going to be happening, at least for a little while, at least until he gets into, you know, a daycare, or, you know, something like that. I'm gonna just be spending time with my son, and I think that's important, you know. So that being said, if anybody's interested, hit me up. My email, the Discord's down below. Outside of that, as far as the channel goes, you might see more live streams in the short run because it's easier for me and my wife to arrange that. All right, you just take care of him for Saturday morning and I'll, you know, jump on and do a live stream or something like that. And then I'll do some quick edits on live streams in order to make videos for people who don't prefer the live stream format, who don't want to sit for 4 hours to watch the entire run. I can get it. So yeah, I'll be doing some kind of mix between that, live streams, some edited videos. There might be some challenges that are a little more straightforward like this. I haven't forgotten about a bunch of things that I've promised to people, things like the Weedle with Mewtwo stats. Just keep in mind that's going to be like an easily 10-hour recording session, and 10 hours is pretty hard to come by. So I'm going to be doing it in chunks, and it's just going to take a little while. Appreciate your guys' understanding. Anyway, it's good to be back. It's good to be making content. My wife is super supportive. My baby, he's just amazing. If you guys have any other questions or you just want to shoot the breeze, come over to Discord and say hi. I'll be trying to check the Discord more too. Discord folks, sorry. Sorry. I have been just so completely absorbed. Anyway. That basically is my rant. So let's get into this Mewtwo fight. So of course it is Mewtwo's time to meet its progenitor, Mew. He uses barrier. I'm using the swords dances here, and he uses barrier again. I'm gonna dig. He goes for cover. We're just not doing that much damage. Oh, we might have to go for the ice beam strat. No. Oh, we get a critical hit there. He misses a psychic. Oh, and we just barely missed knocking him out. No. Mewtwo, we were supposed to win that fight. That was so close. The epic battle between two titans. Okay, we get a psychic, a critical hit psychic right off the bat. Oh my gosh. And now he goes 2 barriers yet again, and 3 barriers even. Oh, there's just no way. Oh, Mewtwo is far too powerful. Far too powerful for our little Mew. Okay, it's time to go for Ice Beam strats. And we even get the special drop. No. Oh no. I thought we had a chance. We had no chance. Mewtwo's far too powerful. Oh man. Mewtwo, you beast, and just crits again. This kind of proves that in Gen 1, I know that technically Mew and Mewtwo are Ubers, but there is only one real Uber Pokemon in Gen 1, and it's Mewtwo. Mew just doesn't stack up. But here we have paralyzed it, and we got all of our sword stances set up. Come on, come on. Oh, he barriers. No. And he recovers. No. He's fully paralyzed. Yes. Yes. Be paralyzed. No. He recovers again. Oh, this Pokemon is too powerful. Too perfect. No wonder everybody wanted Mewtwo at the end. I can't believe that we were all so obsessed with Mew, especially when it was in the official strategy guide back in the day, and you could see that it started with only Pound. So it was like, this Pokemon sucks. I mean, stats aside, Mew is just kind of meh. We totally should have gone soft boiled. No. And there even just 3 Swifts were enough to knock us out. Granted, I mean, we are 13 levels lower, so technically we're not nearly as strong as this Mewtwo. We should technically lose most of the time. There we finally get the freeze though, and now it's time to take our revenge. And just like that, Mew has done it. We're gonna dig out of there and check our stats. Level 57. We've got 133 attack, 134 defense. Not sure why we have an extra defense. There's some sort of weird rounding going there. 133 speed, 133 special. Obviously, the stats on the left-hand side include the badge boost glitch, which is why we have higher stats over there. And Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Sword Stance, Dig. Very, very nice. So Mew has done it. Obviously, I'm going to come back and try to do a faster run with this one, but we'll do that next time. For now, I just wanted to get a quick video out just to say, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for your patience. Apologies. More videos will be coming. Anyway, see you in the next one. Later.